Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking into the unit roster of Agamemnon. His roster is the most balanced unit roster among the Achaeans, with a mix of good heavily armored infantry, capable ranged units, and strong chariots. He also has access to some of the strongest heavy charge infantry. First up, the same as Achilles, the militia. These are a basic cannon fodder unit with shields and an extremely low upkeep cost of 80 food. They have a nice missile block chance of 40%. They are lightweight class infantry, extremely lightly armored, have low morale, but are pretty fast with a speed of 48. These units are considered expendable, so when they rout, they will not lower the morale of non-expendable units. They have a melee attack of 22 and a melee defense of 28 with decent damage of 74. These guys should be sent into the frontline engagement before the main line engages. You can use them to flank enemy frontline using their speed or chase down missile units. Now we have the young spears again. These guys are a lightweight spear infantry, have poor defense, good charge bonus, but are weak versus missiles. They also have a low upkeep cost of 85 food. Their extremely low armor value and no shields make them prime targets for missile units. These guys need to be kept out of missile fire if possible. They have low morale, pretty decent speed of 48, 26 melee attack, 28 melee defense with damage of 78. They also do bonus damage against axemen and swordsmen. They have a charge bonus of 24, which makes them good for cycle charging or just using them to tie up enemy missile units. Here we see the spearmen again. They are another low-cost infantry unit. They are medium weight spear and shield infantry with poor attack, but they are shielded given the missile block rate of 40%. They have a low melee attack of 18, but they have 36 melee defense, so they can be used to hold the front line quite well. They have a damage of 78 with bonus damage versus axemen and swordsmen, decent morale. These guys should be used for your front line formation in the early game. They are quite cost effective with their low cost of 105 food. These are the light swordsmen. They are lightweight sword and shield infantry. They are classified as experts in flanking, and they are shielded with a missile block chance of 40%. They have decent armor and morale, pretty fast for their armor value, 26 melee attack, 36 melee defense with damage of 75. These guys are similar to the spearmen, but they have higher attack with the same melee defense value and have increased bonuses when flanking enemy units. They also have a slightly higher food upkeep of 135. You should use these guys to flank the enemy front line or chase down missile units. The Shielded Clubmen. These are the first new unit we haven't seen for the Achaeans. They are medium weight club and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 110 food and 40 bronze. They have good armor with a missile block chance of 60%, high morale, average speed, melee attack of 32, melee defense of 40, and a damage of 110. These guys will serve as your mid-game frontline unit with little more damage compared to the Shielded Spearmen. Next we have the Shielded Spearmen. They are medium weight spear and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 95 food and 40 bronze. Have decent armor with a missile block chance of 60%. They also have a passive ability called Battlefield Healing, which allows them to replenish hit points out of combat, and they are able to switch to two-handed spears if necessary. Decent morale for holding the line. Melee attack of 30, melee defense of 48, which is pretty high for the unit cost. Their damage is 90, which is decently high, but their main purpose is to be the front line. Club Warriors. These guys are lightweight club infantry with an upkeep cost of only 135 food. They have low armor, but have high morale, high speed, fairly high melee attack, and melee defense with a decent damage of 110, charge bonus of 16. They also have access to some armor-piercing ammunition. They can fire while moving, and have increased bonuses when flanking enemy units. These guys should be used to flank the enemy front line. Let them fire all of their ammunition into the enemy backs, and then charge them to make them quickly rout. These armored spearmen are the heavyweight class of the front line, at the cost of 155 food and 55 bronze. This is a beefy unit, but expensive. They are very resistant to being flanked. They have extremely high armor value of 95 with a missile block chance of 75%. Their morale is outstandingly high. They have a decent melee attack of 38, but a high melee defense of 55. Their damage is a whopping 125 with bonus damage versus axemen and swordsmen. They have improved flanking defense, battlefield healing, and the ability to switch to two-handed spears. These are a very expensive unit to upkeep, so you need to place the few that you have in the center of your frontline formation. These guys will hold down the center for a very long time. You could even utilize their resistance to being flanked and have them on the flanks of your front line to absorb any flanking maneuvers the enemy throws at you. The Armored Swordsmen. These guys are heavyweight sword and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 130 food and 40 bronze. They have extremely high armor value with a missile block chance of 75%, very high morale, average speed, high melee combat stats across the board with very high damage of 160. They also have a decent charge bonus of 15. They have increased bonuses when flanking enemy units. These guys can either be used to be a part of your frontline formation, or you can utilize their passive ability to flank the enemy frontline. These guys will excel in both roles. Armored Chargers. These guys are a heavyweight two-handed spear infantry with an upkeep cost of 195 food, 40 bronze. They are quite expensive for what they provide. They are experts in flanking, have good charge bonus. They have very high armor value of 95 and a high morale of 80. Speed is fairly average. The melee attack is 45, which makes this unit pack quite the punch on the charge. They also have a decent melee defense of 48. Damage of 100 is decent. Charge bonus of 32. They also have battlefield healing and improved combat stats when flanking enemy units. These units should be used for psychocharging the flanks of the enemy front line. Next we have Agamemnon's Guards. These guys are a heavyweight two-handed spear infantry with an upkeep cost of 150 food and 60 bronze. They have extremely high armor value of 100, high morale of 85, average speed, 52 melee attack and melee defense with a damage of 100 with bonus versus large units. Good charge bonus of 38. They are immune to psychology, have increased bonuses when flanking enemy units, and have battlefield healing. These guys should be used for psychocharging the flanks of the enemy front lines, or you can use them to bolster your front lines. Lastly, we have Agamemnon's Companions. These guys are a heavyweight two-handed axe infantry with an upkeep cost of 150 food and 55 bronze. They are basically the same as Agamemnon's Guards, but have a slightly higher melee attack and damage at the cost of melee defense. They also have good armor-piercing values with a decent charge bonus of 42. They have immunity to psychology, increased bonuses when flanking, and battlefield healing. These guys should be used similarly to Agamemnon's Guards, psychocharging the flanks of the enemy front lines or bolstering your frontline formation. Also, try to target more heavily armored units with these guys because they have high armor-piercing damage. Now we are moving on to the missile infantry. First up, we have the Achaean Slingers. These are the same ones as on the Spartan roster. They are a lightweight slinger infantry with a poor armor-piercing value, poor morale, and a large ammo supply. Their upkeep is only 85 food, which makes them quite cheap. They have 5 armor, so any missile fire at these guys will deal massive damage. Terrible melee combat stats, but that's to be expected of missile infantry. 38 ammunition, 160 range, 21 missile damage. These guys should be used to fire at enemy missile infantry or fire at the flanks of the enemy front line. Do not use these guys to fire at any heavily armored infantry. They will not be effective at all. Let's look into the basic bowmen. These guys are a lightweight bow infantry with an upkeep cost of 110 food. Nothing too special about these guys. They have good ammunition and range with fairly decent missile damage. These guys should be used as basic missile infantry, firing into enemy missile units or providing supportive fire on the front lines. Next are the skirmishers. These guys are a lightweight javelin infantry with an upkeep cost of 100 food. They have low armor and are shielded with a 20% block chance. Decent morale, fairly high speed, 15 ammunition, 95 range, 30 missile damage with good armor-piercing value. These guys should be hidden in the woods somewhere on the sides of the maps. This will give them the opportunity to flank the enemy front line and fire armor-piercing volleys into their backs. Renowned Slingers. These guys are a medium-weight slinger infantry that is effective at taking out enemy missile infantry. Their upkeep cost is 100 food and 20 bronze. They are shielded, so they do have a 35% block chance, 28 ammunition, 180 range, 37 missile damage. Preferably, you would want to use these guys against the enemy missile infantry. Light Javelin Men. These guys are a lightweight javelin infantry with an upkeep cost of 100 food and 40 bronze. They have decent armor with a 40% missile block chance, pretty high morale, decent melee combat stats so they can hold their own against basic melee infantry, 18 ammunition, 115 range, 38 missile damage with good armor-piercing values. They have Vanguard deployment and the ability to stalk, meaning they won't be seen until they are right in front of the enemy. Vanguard deploy these guys somewhere in the woods, some on the side of the maps. Only move them out when the front lines have clashed so they can volley into their backs. Last of the ranged units, we have the Bows of Mycenae. They are a medium-weight bow infantry with an upkeep cost of 180 food and 50 bronze. They have pretty high armor values and morale, very high melee combat stats for ranged units, 30 ammunition, 170 range, and 34 missile damage with good armor-piercing values. They also have battlefield healing. These guys are very strong missile infantry, fire into the enemy missile units, or fire into the backs of the units that are running away, or you can bring them around the flanks to start firing at the backs of the enemy front line engagement. Now we are moving on to the cavalry portion of the roster. Same as Menelaus' Chariots, there's nothing too special about these. First we have the regular Chariots, medium weight class chariot unit with an upkeep cost of 160 food. They are two-handed spears with good speed, decent armor stats, melee attack of 28, melee defense of 24, although They should be used for cycle charging and not left in prolonged combat. Charge bonus of 50 makes this a great cycle charging unit. They also do bonus damage versus large units. Lastly, we have the Reinforced Chariots, which are a heavyweight class chariot unit with an upkeep cost of 190 food and 45 bronze. They have high armor stat of 70, decent speed of 65, melee combat stats are average across the board, charge bonus is 60, and again, these should be used for cycle charging and not prolonged combat. Now we are moving on to the mythical portion of Agamemnon's roster, the first being Spartoids. These are a heavyweight spear infantry. They have unbreakable, but they will rampage at low health. Armor stats are decent, morale is fairly high at 75, high melee attack of 54, good melee defense of 42, they have a damage of 131 and decent armor piercing values. They also have a charge bonus of 46. Preferably, you should use these guys to bolster your main frontline engagement, or you can use them to flank, cycle charge the flanks of the enemies. Lastly, we have the Minotaur. This is a single entity, decent armor, extremely high morale, high speed, high melee attack of 68, average melee defense of 30, extremely high damage of 1180, with good armor piercing value. He also has a high charge bonus of 45, causes fear, has the ability Bull Rush, which speaks for itself, and Savage Roar, which reduces enemy morale by 30. This guy should be mixed in with your frontline engagement. If you send him after a unit by himself, he will take quite a bit of damage due to his single entity. That about wraps it up for Agamemnon's unit roster. Now we'll look into a mid-game army composition. This is in no way the best army composition, but it is well-rounded and should be able to perform quite well against many armies you encounter. We have 5 shielded spearmen, 2 shielded clubmen, 2 light swordsmen, 4 club warriors, 3 bowmen, and 3 skirmishers. Alright, so now we're going to look at how we want to form up our units. So we're going to have 5 shielded spearmen in the center, 2 shielded clubmen on the flanks. The 3 bowmen are in the front to get off their initial volleys. We have a flanking unit or group over here on the side, 2 club warriors and 2 light swordsmen. We need something fast. These guys will come around once the front line clashes, and also these guys will come around as well. We have 2 club warriors and 3 light skirmishers. We have these club warriors with them just to sort of like escort them to the flanks of the enemies. So if they run into any issues, these guys will be here to protect them and allow these guys to get through and volley into their backs. And then we also have Agamemnon here in the center. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative for your Agamemnon campaign. Make sure to check out my other guides on the other faction units, which can be found in the link here. If you have a request on which hero guide you want next, leave a comment below. Also, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more.